Well, this was the upset of all time. I still can't believe it. Julianna Pena submitted Amanda Nunes in the second round. She was able to survive and stall out the first round enough to where Nunes seemed to be gassed out somehow in the second round, to where Julianna Pena started to out-brawl Nunes, made this the most straight punch beat looping punch fight of all time, where she was continuously landing straight punches against Nunes' looping punches to win the exchanges. See, as long as you throw straight punches against looping punches, even Julianna Pena is able to beat someone like Amanda Nunes. Then later able to get an easy takedown into a choke with no hooks, and the choke barely in there. The choke actually looked like it was on Nunes' chin, to where Nunes shockingly tapped out. And we have to give credit to Julianna Pena, man. She was all game. She was extremely determined. She didn't give Nunes that kind of respect that other fighters have given her, and deemed to be one of the only fighters to go after Nunes in such an aggressive manner. But if we're going to be honest here, it is very hard to look at this fight and not see something wrong with Amanda Nunes or have questions about some of the uncharacteristic things that happened in this fight. I see everybody talking about it. Everybody's confused as to how Amanda Nunes gassed out so fast. We can understand if the first round was like super action-packed, similar to when Nunes fought Kat Zingano, and she blew her wad trying to finish off Zingano. Zingano survived, and Nunes gave all she had in that very first round. We could understand then, but the first round against Pena was nothing like that. First round really wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't chaotic. It didn't have much activity. We've seen fights in the past with her have far more activity and her not nearly gassing out like this. It is possible that Nunes gassed out because the majority of the first round was wrestling, even though for the majority of it she was on top and there wasn't a lot of activity on the ground. Pena did have that Kimura lock for a while, but we've seen Nunes wrestle even more in fights and not gas out to that extent. For an example, in the Jermaine Durandamy and Felicia Spencer fights, Nunes wrestled far more in those two fights than she did in this one, and did not gas out to the extent she did here. So the cardio aspect of this fight is somewhat questionable, but what I think happened here was there's possibly two different things. Number one, Amanda Nunes just had COVID, and it's possible it has affected her lungs, affected her cardio. Number two, something that's happened to Roy Jones Jr. in boxing. The fact that Amanda Nunes continuously after each fight is changing weight classes. The change of weight classes potentially has an effect on her cardio. Whatever the reason for her cardio deficiency in the fight, it does explain some of her lack of techniques in the second round, such as her being very flat-footed, her distance management being off, her continuously going to the same techniques, getting jabbed up by Julianna Pena in exchanges, where Nunes is not moving her head, but Pena is. Pena kept things extremely simple. She didn't need to wrestle too much in the fight. Ultimately didn't need all of her skill set to beat Nunes. She used her jab for the most part of the stand-up, slipping on the outside of Nunes' jab, while Nunes keeps her head up tall, eating all the punches Pena throws her way. So what's going to happen next is, there's definitely going to be a rematch. But the thing is, if Nunes' cardio does not come together, she will lose again. And that would be a crazy scenario where not only does Nunes lose a fight, but she loses the rematch against that same opponent. And to be honest here, Nunes losing the belt with a new champion makes this division a lot more fun. Fighters like Irina Aldana out there, Caitlin Vieira, and Jermaine Durandamy holding a submission win over Julianna Pena recently throws her name in the hat as well. Julianna Pena winning the fight actually made this division a lot more fun.